we dive into masculinity, let's introduce TXT. Do you know who they are?
Yes, TXT or Tomorrow by Together is a 5-member male K-pop group known for their versatility. They move between soft, playful concepts and darker, more intense concepts.
So what kinds of masculinity are they performing? Let's start with Western masculinity. How is it usually defined?
According to Jeffrey Weinstock, Western masculinity is shaped by cultural norms like dominance, refusal to compromise, and resolving conflict through violence. These expectations have been harmful not just to women and society, but to men themselves.
Right, and Weinstock also explains that gender expectations function as semiotic codes. For men, these include being aggressive, independent, dominant, and not nurturing. It's basically a rigid template for how men are expected to behave.
Wow, that's the complete opposite of the Korean Hyunbi ideal.
Exactly. Sun Jung describes three major Korean masculine images: the patriarchal, authoritarian, the violent type, and the Shonbi man. The Shonbi is scholarly, moral, refined, and self-disciplined, a sharp contrast to the aggressive Western male.
So already we're comparing two really different cultural models. What about hegemonic masculinity?
Crystal S. Anderson cites Mike Donaldson, who defines hegemonic masculinity as a culturally idealized form of Western manhood. It's exclusive, hierarchical, anxiety-provoking, and often violent. It really centers on traits like power, strength, control, competitiveness, confidence, and independence.
Anderson also quotes Connell and Messerschmitt. They add that hegemonic masculinity is normative because it represents the current most honored way of being a man, even though most men don't actually fit in.
Right. Anderson points out that this standard ends up excluding Asian men by stereotyping them as feminized or lacking these so-called normative masculine traits.
So how does K-pop challenge that?
When male K-pop groups display overlapping masculinities, Anderson argues they disrupt those emasculating stereotypes. Instead of fitting into just one box, they show a whole spectrum of masculine expressions, something Western hegemonic masculinity typically doesn't allow.
So how do these different masculinities appear in TXT's Blue Hour?
A great starting point is Sun Jung's concept of Chokukjok, which describes a transnational blend mixing global cultural elements while still keeping a distinctly Korean identity.
So TXT can present both Western and Korean elements at the same time?
Exactly. For example, there's a scene where they lean into Western imagery. They're wearing black and white outfits with cowboy hats, one member in a vest, another in a cowboy-style shirt, and even some leather jackets. Later, they dance in long coats and hats, and the choreography with sharp, precise movements and dramatic flair feels very much inspired by Western pop styles, even evoking the influence of Michael Jackson. K-pop groups are known for incorporating Western themes and iconic moves, and here, TXT blends that with their own Korean aesthetic, creating a layered performance of masculinity.
But even with all that Western styling, the scene in the music video still feels really Korean, doesn't it?
Exactly. If you look at the choreography and the set design, they remain distinctly Korean. The pastel colors, the whimsical backgrounds, the playful choreography, all of that preserves a Korean aesthetic, so even while they're using Western symbols, the overall vibe is rooted in Korean visual culture.
So it's a deliberate blend. It borrows Western motives while maintaining Korean identity.
Precisely, that's Jokukjok in action. TXT can be transnational, global, and Korean all at once. It makes their performance of masculinity flexible and layered.
And when you notice that blend, it's easier to see how TXT performs masculinity in Blue Hour, right?
Yes, this is what Anderson calls konminam, a soft masculinity emphasizing delicate features and a more feminine coded beauty. But TXT makes it more complex by pairing it with emotional depth and confident performance.
That explains the pastel colors, soft visuals, and gentle choreography.
Yes, and we can see them being playful with each other in ways that go beyond just dance. They tease one another, share lighthearted gestures, and interact in affectionate, fun ways, like playful shoulder taps, synchronized facial expressions, running around in whimsical ways, or gently leaning and laying on each other in the tree scenes. There are even moments when one member gets a raindrop dropped on them, adding a playful, tender touch. These gestures of physical closeness and intimacy signals bonds of friendship and trust, showing that emotional expressiveness, affection, and care can be an important part of a healthy performance of manhood.
Also, it's more than just choreography. Look at their clothing: light, airy colors, flowing fabrics, and soft textures. The hair comes in different shades such as pink, lavender, and blonde, breaking the mold of traditional masculine norms. All these choices, from playful interactions to soft clothing and hair, communicate a layered, flexible masculinity that combines aesthetics, emotion, and confidence.
Then there's the background. Fields of grass, pastel skies, and whimsical landscapes. It creates a dreamy, soft atmosphere that complements their movements.
And what about the animals? I noticed they included squirrels and blue birds.
Yes, the use of animals is very deliberate. In many cultural interpretations, animals are associated with gentleness, vulnerability, and sensitive qualities, often quoted as feminine. By incorporating them, TXT emphasizes a softer, nurturing aspect of masculinity.
So it's really an entire visual language. The clothing, hair, background, choreography, and even animals all working together to convey this layered soft masculinity.
Exactly. Compared to Western hegemonic masculinity, TXT blends vulnerability, aesthetics, and performance skills into their expression of manhood.
And by combining these soft aesthetics with emotional depth and confidence, they challenge the idea that softness is weakness.
Yes, that's exactly what Anderson calls overlapping masculinities. TXT can be gentle and soft while still being confident, skilled, and emotionally powerful.
Right, because TXT isn't limited to just one type of masculinity. They also explore more darker, intense sides in other videos.
For example, in their music video for Can't You See Me, they wear all black outfits, stand in front of a burning house, and dance outside of it. The imagery is chaotic, dangerous, and intense, showing a more aggressive, almost destructive side of masculinity.
Wow, that's such a contrast to Blue Hour, darker, rebellious, full of tension.
Exactly, and in Eternally, they add psychological intensity and emotional complexity by showing darker moments and vulnerability. They're seen crying and standing in a field of purple flowers. These visuals highlight that masculinity can include sensitivity and reflection, traits that are often coded as feminine in Western ideals.
So TXT layers multiple masculinities: soft, aggressive, emotional, confident, depending on their concept.
Yes, that's overlapping masculinities in action. TXT challenges the idea that masculinity has to be fixed, showing men can be gentle, bold, vulnerable, or powerful all within a single body of work. So, what does Blue Hour ultimately tell us about masculinity?
Okay, let me get this straight. TXT challenges narrow ideas of masculinity by embracing vulnerability, emotional depth, and confidence. By blending Korean and global influences, they show that men can be soft, bold, playful, and expressive all at once, expanding manhood beyond the tough guy stereotype. Wow, I never would have thought there were so many sides to masculinity.
Right? TXT shows us that it can be soft, bold, playful, and emotional all at once. I hope you've learned something new from Blue Hour and maybe even seen masculinity in a whole new way.